Well, I got the 35 on my A65, so it's like a 50. I have the camera so far, my laptop so far from me right
Really?
now.
Bro,
Yeah.
I love how you put the little let's talk about that aperture light, bro. I love how you tuck that in the
Hey,
corner. That joint,
hey,
I need some.
dog, I got one right here as a key light too.
Yo, how would you recommend using that on a stand though?
On a stand, you don't need a stand. It's got magnets built into it.
Okay,
You just
okay, I know, Lugo. Don't do that. Don't do that with me. First and foremost, because I gotta put together a Rode, um, like a mobile podcast
like an
mirrorless
iPhone
setup.
kit.
No, 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 no.
Oh, mirrorless.
One of these packages, but they could fit in a small Pelican. Um, if we happen to travel and do shows, which is not official yet.
Price range? You have a price range? You don't have a price range? Bro, the one over my desk. You seen the one over my desk?
Oh no, no, no. But I mean, is it
It rolls up.
the
It
whole
rolls
light?
up.
It's a mat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, bro. Put a cart together for me.
And the softbox inside, the softbox that's on top of it,
Mhm.
completely folds down.
Okay,
Completely
yeah.
folds
Put
down.
together a package. I'll slide you some bread. But put together
Bro,
a little
that,
package.
bro, that joint wavy. It's not falconized. I think it is falconized. It's falconized.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why you see the one over my desk, and you would think it's like, okay, that's a big light. It's not completely rolls up. It's like one of those light mats. Yeah.
It's like the flat ones, right? The whole
Yep.
thing. That's fire. Yeah. Yeah, because we gotta in case we're out when it's a regular podcast shooting day or something that Kev wants to do at the hotel, he wants to have like a proper setup. So I had like pretty much everything else in mind on what I was gonna set him up with, except for like the light. But I wanted a bigger source because those are great. But
Yeah, they're just not a big source. Yeah, because I mean they're clutch, especially as backlighting for sure. Like accent lights.
yeah,
Oh,
I just
game
want
changer.
a
But
reason
as
to
a
buy
key
them.
light, yeah,
I
they're
also just
fire.
wonder. Man, those tacos, let me tell you what the worst thing of all time
Bro, the
is the
excitement
best.
on your face,
Bro,
on the second story.
the best tacos in the city got put on DoorDash. And that was the worst decision they could have done for me personally. Actually, I've been pretty good. I've only ordered them twice.
Whoa! You said the best tacos. You're not even gonna throw the name out.
I want to, bro, but a part of me wants to I want to put the homies on as they come through, you know? But the spot's called
What you mean? You gotta support the local businesses.
I am. This
You
is what
out
I'm
here
going to say.
saving
It's
them.
Tacos El Güero, I believe.
Ooh,
But
tacos
they're
del
they're
Cuero.
known for their birria joints, which I don't know how versed you are in the taco game. But
My go-to is carne asada y al pastor. Those
those are the two that I ordered. So barbacoa and birria are like their joints. But
Look at Josh out here doing a little Spanish.
you know what? It comes out on occasion, bro. A little
hey.
sprinkle, a little sprinkle.
Hey.
But I tried just their asada and pastor today, and I was not disappointed at all. I was really content because I didn't really want the heaviness.
I will never do. Bro, asada.
You can't go
Cool,
wrong.
bro.
At the end of the day, you can't go wrong unless the preparation is whack. I could talk about tacos for days, but I mean, I was like hungry, but then once I got to the fourth, I was like, bro, I shouldn't be eating.
Bro, we're in the same position. I just cooked a fat steak.
Yeah, bro, you're on vacation though. I'm at the crib.
Hey, I still been working out every day.
I believe you.
So I'm still keeping up, and I've been somewhat. I still haven't eaten bread, which has been pretty rough. But
how long are you out here? Next week?
Till the 20th.
Oh, bro, you're paying rent.
I'm vibing, bro.
That's fire.
I gotta say though.
You coming to LA for a day or no?
There. No.
Deaded?
No.
I
was gonna finesse them, but the thing that we're about, the thing that my homie had planned, we had to go to LA, got canceled. So it's kind of just. Like,
I mean, honestly, bro, coming to California and not going to LA is also a nice way to spend some time.
Yeah. I gotta say though, I don't know if anyone watching is out for Fresno, but Fresno,
I could have told you, bro. I've been said. Shouts to Fresno. I got homies that live out there. But if you come to California experiencing LA and only LA, and then you're like, oh, let me go venture out to other cities, Fresno's the next one I
no,
want
no,
to try.
no. Listen. I've been to a lot of cities. I'm from a small city,
Mm-hmm.
Fresno. Who?
Man said Fresno.
Fresno.
Man,
Look, no disrespect, but y'all gotta step y'all game up. Can't
I
even
don't think
catch
they
an Uber
want.
out here.
I think that's the thing. I don't think. I think it's like this is what it is. This is Fresno.
Yeah. Bro, the college out here look like elementary school.
Yeah, you
Straight
got
up.
Cal State Fresno's popping though.
Bro,
That's a
it
big.
looks
That's
like
a big Cal
elementary-
State.
Bro, it
I
looks
actually
like
got into that
elementary
school, but I was like, but what if I didn't go there?
Straight up, drove by, elementary school.
Stop it. Your kids outside, they're playing on the swings.
Bro,
Stop.
the biggest building downtown is a what? Detention center.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. I've never really been to Fresno like that though.
Hey man, but you know you like Fresno, but man, if you live in Fresno and never seen outside of Fresno, try it. No, because it seems like the type
Oh,
of
to
city
kind
that
of
you
like
grow
open
in.
up
Yeah, like,
your spectrum.
It gives me like Springfield vibes, like the city you grow up in, and you
Mhm.
just never leave.
Yo, speaking of Springfield, have you heard of an artist named Ish?
Ish, I know
Ish.
someone named Ish.
Out
From
of
Springfield?
Springfield. Hold on, real quick.
What's Springfield?
Springfield, Mass. Ish Akonor.
Send me his IG.
He actually has
Or
a
his-
dope. He actually has a dope EP that he just put out. He works with the homie, but he's in LA for a little bit. Gonna work.
Oh, I just searched him to find him. He follows me. I didn't even know. But hey, you putting me on now.
Play.
Oh, okay. I'm already watching some videos. He's connected with a ton of homies of mine. Some of my homies are inside these videos.
Tread Seas is a good place to start with Ish. But anyway, also,
word.
did you listen to that Fem Dot record?
Nah, not yet.
All right, good. That's a little vibe. Save those together. Those can be played
Say
together.
less.
Was this episode 8 officially or 9? I lost count,
Let
bro.
me-
I don't know.
This is 8.
Okay, cool.
This is 8.
I think we talk about
Age. That was the next topic, right?
age in this space.
Age in this space.
But before we do that, what up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Something Creative. This is episode 8-ish. I was gonna say 8, but I was trying to say episode at the same time, and it said
7.5.
yeah. I don't know what happened. There was a debacle between YouTube and Our Hopes and Dreams, with one of the episodes, and they deaded one, and we revived it, and now I lost official track of where we're at. So it's 8-ish. Man. Something Creative is a podcast where we kind of talk about where we are at with being creative, and as filmmakers, directors, cinematographers, finessers, full-time finessers.
Full-time
And we welcome those who also want to partake in the finesse of being full-time. Because it's possible. Look at us.
Hey. I've gotten here just finessing.
Yeah, man, you finesse your way to California. Look at you. He's there, man. You gotta sit down, bro. Actually, you've probably been seated for a minute.
Yeah, man.
How's that other joint coming?
Hmm?
How's that other joint coming that we worked on? I don't want to say too much more after that.
Oh. Wait, I did send you the draft.
You
All right,
did.
cool.
Solid. I loved it so far.
We just
Great.
wrapped up the second draft.
Okay.
Actually, last night. Yeah.
Dope. I also got something I'm working on that I want you to put your little color sauce on it if you got some time.
Put my little paintbrush
A
on.
little
I'm
paint,
down.
just light, light little watercolor. Today we were talking about the stigma of overthinking your age with where you're at as a creative in your career.
Or just age in general, just operating at your age, dealing with younger people, general. Yeah, generally, being 15 in this game is a struggle, I'm 15 and
Here you go, bro. Here you go with the jokes as we get started on a serious topic.
Hey man, I can't help it. I'm 15,
Man, nah, but for real. So getting started, I would say, what age was I when I first started interning? I had just turned 21 when I just took on my first internship. And I was going to school for business marketing, but I had already known by the year before I was going to graduate, I was like, I'm not about to work up a corporate ladder business-wise, unless it was like a Nike or a Apple or which other like crazy high reach brands with no experience beside applying towards at the time that I didn't get.
A sell yourself worthy company.
1000%.
I would sell myself if Apple wanted to hire me.
But
100%.
But because I mean I always like saw myself doing like not like big things, but like bigger things. I would say like out of the box in terms of like the traditional 9-to-5 jobs, because I was working mad retail hours. And I remember I worked like 20 hours of overtime one week during the holidays, and I'm like, yo, this check is about to be crazy. And I saw what the check actually was in the amount taxed, and I was just like, there has to be more than this, because I did not sleep last week or the past 2 weeks, because we got paid on a 2-week pay period. And at that moment, I was just like, I need to reach for the heavens, because the stars are not gonna, if this is what the stars is running company, because that's the thing too, is like, I'm from a small town where we have an outlet mall here, and there are a lot of the homies that are just like, hey man, I like working here. And then I ended up working with some people who had started like me, and they were like, hey man, like I mean I love it, I've been here for X amount of years and all that, and respects to them and how they want to keep continuing and growing in the companies that they're working at. But I just knew that that wasn't going to be fitting for me. But I feel like I didn't realize that until like towards the end of college, when I'd start interning. And then at that point, I started in a space. I was working in a space that was full of quote unquote creatives. In that entire I worked at like a YouTube network, not at YouTube, but a company that created content at the time. They were called Multi-Channel Network, MCN. And I had never understood, or I'd never been like introduced to what kind of space that was.
Yeah.
What type of platform, what type of job that looked like. And as soon as like my first week, I was just like, oh, this is a full world, and I can find a space in here. And I love cameras. So I didn't, but I wouldn't say that I had gone in there with like knowledge of being able to run something completely camera operator wise on my own at the time. But I had learned slowly but surely. But at that time, I would say that my clock of when I was like wanting to use cameras and as on a professional grade and kind of let that take off as a platform, I don't think that clock officially started until I was 21. Because I had messed around in high school, middle school, with like point and shoots.
Hobby.
Yeah, as like a hobby, but I never saw it to be like, oh, this is something that I could do for real, like as a living. So for me at the time, I would say that like as I had started navigating in that space and slowly developed a job, but then started seeing other creators that were shooting shows, both like series that we were working on as well as like music shows, like live photography and stuff. I'm like, yo, how are they here at the same age as me? Like,
Yeah.
for me, I had always it was always in the back of my head. I'm like, man, maybe I can't get to this tier of quality of work or whatever because I started too late. Like age was always a variable, like a huge factor in the back of my head of like, oh man, like I won't be able to reach that elite peak because my 10,000 hour clock started when these guys were at 9,000 or whatever. That narrative was built in my head in terms of my age.
Jeez. So how do you compare yourself the way you saw at that age when you were starting and you saw some sort of potential? Where did you see yourself going at that age, like at that moment? Like where was it like,
Of what
oh,
period?
maybe when you were just starting, when you
Okay.
were just, let's say when you right when you got into All Def and you were just like, you were kind of introduced to the world and then you were just like, I'm sure you have some thoughts at that time of like, oh, I could become this. Like, what was your this at that stage?
Honestly, since I could remember, I was always mad competitive. So
Mm-hmm.
in the sense of like whatever that I found some joy doing, I wanted to be the best at, and I wanted to beat everybody else at that point. And at that point, it was like producing content. And like it fed my ego a little bit too because like I was the youngest person in the room and I was kind of nice because I out hustled everybody and I was getting stuff done and we were creating content that was like starting to get write-ups. It was starting to get like the recognition and
Mm-hmm.
at that point I was just like, I'm a young producer in this and stuff is coming together. But
Almost like at that age, like, you know, when you're a kid and you're like, what do you want to be when you grow up?
mhm.
And kids are like astronaut, whatever. At that age, where do you see like, oh man, you just started feeling this out. You're like, it's going well.
Yeah.
Like at that point, did you see yourself like, oh, maybe in 10 years I'll do this?
Oh, I'll tell you what really like struck a spark um was when I started seeing like docu-series content. Like documentary style work but in a shorter form rather than like a full 2-hour documentary on fill in the blank. Two specifically examples are, one was Mac Miller's Fader documentary. It said "Stop Making Excuses." That was the name of it. I don't know if you ever saw that. If you haven't, I highly recommend. I will definitely send it to you. That was Mac Miller, God rest his soul. Basically talking about the struggles that he was having that he overcame going into, I want to say it was Good AM, the Good AM project.
Mm-hmm.
It was the all white cover with the what's it called? It might have been his face on there. If it wasn't his face, it was literally good as like the clock, like the classic alarm clock font. But I saw that and it really spoke, like that narrative based content. I'll never forget it because I had it written up on a whiteboard that I had bought at the first spot I moved out to. Once I started working, I was like, yo, I want to basically make a mini series of that, highlighting artists who are more open to share those struggles to let that resonate with people that it could potentially help. Basically like that voice to the voiceless type content that you're really connecting with. That documentary, probably like 20 minutes, maybe. It's on YouTube. Like I said, I'm gonna send. Also, I'll drop the link to it in this description. That way, if anybody else wants to watch it, they're more That as well as Cole's 2014 Forest Hills Drive rollout.
Mm.
The mini series that led to the documentary, when Scott created those like mini episodic documentaries of the moments that led up to, it was the Road to Homecoming series that they put out on HBO. That's when I was just like, oh, I want to do documentary stuff. So I was trying to navigate the content I was producing to like throw long form, because at the time our emphasis at All Def was to create snackable style content, which is short videos that can get the most impressions. Not necessarily like regardless of what they were. It could be in the title for clickbait. It could be something wild in the actual episode that with our top talent. Like there was a lot of factors, or it could just be a trending topic that somebody did a rant
Just
about.
good content that gets traction.
Correct. Anything just to throw on the board and get numbers for the week, day by day. So long form content wasn't really fitting that model, but I literally was doing everything that I could to be like, oh, what about with this angle for it? It would never fit. But that's just the direction of the company at the time and things I wanted to create. Like that's when I realized I'm just like, man, how can I put the steps in to get the reps up to get to this level of creating content, you know? And ultimately, all those missteps and whatnot kind of led me to be able to shoot a doc for Kev, because he knew deep down that's the type of content I wanted to make, and that's what we did 2018 with the Calculated Risk documentary on his first tour. However, in the process of creating that, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to edit this, because like I had edited things here and there, a couple music videos. I remember
at that time you was stressed about that edit.
Oh, 1000%. Mainly because I mean a few reasons. One, I know Pliant personally, you know, like I want to make a solid piece of work. You know, I want to make a piece of content that was going to resonate. I had put all these unnecessary pressures on top of myself because also I had an ego of like, yo, this is like my first big piece. After
like it's got to be perfect.
It's got to be perfect, and I got something to prove to who, I don't know. It doesn't matter who, even if somebody was in mind at the time. I want to prove to myself that I'm capable of doing this on a bigger scale.
Yeah.
But all that was in my head about like, oh, I feel like I don't have the experience to do this. I feel like I haven't been doing this long enough to be able to create something, when that isn't even a factor at the end of the day. The ultimate ingredients for that concoction was that, okay, I know this person that I'm interviewing and creating a documentary for, so I know the questions to ask. I'm able to navigate and create a storyline from how he kind of started to where he's at in terms of how he's created a brand, built a following, and he continues to leave a lasting impression with the connecting with the connection that he has in terms of like him and his audience and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, like during that time period, I remember just kind of like shuffling around and be like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this, because I was thinking about everything possible. Didn't go to film school. Never have worked even as an assistant.
Literally all the reasons.
You know, no, literally, bro. Like I feel like I created a board that I would just constantly look at in my mind on like, this won't work because of this. This won't work because of this. And over the years, I'm slowly deteriorating that board, like more and more. It's like a complete deconstructive, but also like the perfectionist in me was just like, I want to make sure that everything is done correctly and right. Because like that's always the result and impact that I wanted to have, with regardless of what I was doing, even growing up.
Yep.
So to kind of go in a professional sense, especially when it starts coming to money and your friend's money, you're like, I don't want to blow this. You know, there's all that pressure.
Okay. So you are all deaf. You're going through this. How was it being like the youngest at all deaf? Like
Um,
apart from, like I guess you already said it was kind of like an ego boost too, but like I guess for me, like because I started when I was 18, 18 officially,
mhm.
and going into it, it's just it's weird starting off because you look at everyone else, like you said, and they're
Yeah.
all like 30 above, doing what you want to do right now. And there's just I guess the hardest thing with the age thing is really the representation of like because what you want to do at that time, you only see older people doing it. So you're
Mhm.
like, so it's just that disconnect of like, there has to be a reason why they're older,
Yeah.
it's pretty trippy. So you're all deaf and you're doing that. So when did it like shift? Because you wanted to do the docu series, you started working with Kev, blah blah. So then, how would you see yourself now compared to how you saw yourself when you were at like 21, 22?
Now, I mean, and the problem too though is it was getting told to me at the time of like, yo, be patient, just keep working, you will get there. You know,
Yeah,
whatever there is in terms of opportunities, in terms of skill set, in terms of technicality, understanding, in terms of actualizing ideas or being able to actualize ideas. Um, man, I think at the time I just wasn't being patient with my own growth and allowing the time to develop. You know, I wanted to see the developed photo before the picture was even taken. I wanted to cuz I and that's the thing too is like I always knew that like um I always knew what I wanted for myself in terms of like opportunities where I wanted to be at. But seeing other people in those styles of roles or fill in the blanks, other opportunities at the time in my head was like, they're shining in this role, so I'm not gonna be able to shine in that role in my own capacity.
yeah,
Um, and I think that was, I mean, part of that too was like seeing homies on tour like flourishing and being like crazy dope in what they're doing. I'm just like, man, how did they even get to that opportunity? Like I didn't understand. I thought there was like a missing link somewhere, you know? But I will say even now looking back, now I'm starting to feel that like the progression coming to fruition of
mm,
like knowing that having some of those opportunities at that time wasn't necessarily the best situation because now I feel like I can execute them with my eyes closed without overthinking it because it's like, okay, that's something I know how to do. But that's also something that I've grown into being able to say, yes, I know how to do that without being like, I don't know if I'm capable of doing that, period. If
yeah.
that
Or
answered the
maybe
question.
just finding the right opportunity of like getting a friend, doing it
Mm-hmm.
for a friend,
Yeah.
where it's kind of like less pressure. Interesting. Age
Yeah.
is tricky, man.
But no, for sure. And I will say at the time, kind of going back to like being one of the youngest at a company like that, it's interesting, right? Because your voice is always heard because at the end of the day, you're the demographic. But
Mm,
there are also times where you're like, man, I'm mad young. I know I'm not that valued when it comes to decision making, like
mm,
suggesting, and whether like that was 100% true or not. There were definitely times where I think I like felt that like, all right, we're gonna do it this way though because just do your job.
yeah, it's kind of like the. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. All right, buddy.
Are there times where you ever feel like because of your age, maybe one of your ideas doesn't get not necessarily taken seriously, but like not taking a risk on.
Ideas? What do you
Yeah,
mean?
or like any of your creative.
I think overall for me, I've dealt with a lot of sun moments. People be trying to sun me because they find out
Oh,
my
okay.
age. Yeah, they be trying to sub me, and I'm the type of person that I just sit back. I'll take it. But I've definitely had to be more of a person, especially from my area, where I kind of had to prove myself, and I always hated. I've always been a person of just like my work just speaks for itself.
Mm,
That's always been like my mentality going about it, and I think I did that subconsciously. But I think it was definitely an age thing too, because when you go with your foot forward, someone who's could go up and be like, "Yo, I'm 15 plus years in the game. I've worked with these people. Blah blah." Here comes a freaking 18-year-old kid, and
mm-hmm.
they're just like, so I've always been in the person. Okay, let me just show them my work, and then they see it's dope, and then I have to build that trust. But yeah, it's definitely tricky, um, because starting at 18, so I'm 22 now, and I feel like now I'm kind of like in a good area where I built some good people around me. So,
Mm,
but when you're, I remember when I was starting, especially when I started going on tour and stuff, um, two years ago. My memory is fuzzy when it comes to years, just in general. I just can't. So I'm saying years out, but I really don't know how long ago it was. 2019. That's to this year's 2021. 3 years.
Well,
Okay,
last year was a wash, so I
two
mean,
years. 2 years.
2019 is last year.
Okay, or 28. No, 2019. It was 2019. So yeah, starting off on tour and stuff. So I guess the biggest thing was me was really transitioning. Um, I never had a problem with my age in terms of myself. Like I just never noticed my age, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest. Like just like I've always been the type of person. I'm still the type of person when I want to do something, I'll just do it. Like there's no, I'm not gonna say there's no second guessing or whatever, but it's tricky because I'm definitely an overthinker. But once I make a decision,
Mm-hmm.
like let's say I'm gonna shoot this, I already confirmed with myself that I'm shooting that. Now I'm just thinking about. I think once I already make a pact with myself that I'm gonna shoot something,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna shoot it. Rather, I think it's gonna come out bad or not. But then I'm just overthinking about like, is it gonna come out bad? Is it gonna do this? But I wouldn't overthink of like, am I doing it or not? Because I already like once I'm like, all right, cool, I'm doing it. So I think when I went into college, spring 20, no, spring 2017, um, I went in knowing I was gonna drop out. I didn't know when, but I went in. So I'm from Springfield, small city. I went to Boston for school. I wanted some change. So I went into school in Boston because I didn't want to, meaning I knew I needed something uncomfortable to experience. So I went into the city, hated school. It was pretty trash. I didn't learn anything, but I knew I was gonna drop out. I just did it to get some change. So then coming back, um, 20 spring 2018, I dropped out, came back home, and I was like, okay, let me just start doing this full time. And then yeah, and then that's when I saw the age thing didn't really matter because at that point in college, you're still like you could be the most confident person, but you will always compare yourself. It's just humanly whatever,
Specifically in college.
Specifically, well, I think it's just that age in general. I'm still
Mm.
trying to like, can I really, really do this? Like I'm trying to convince myself, I
Okay.
guess. That's why I guess looking back at it now, I'm going to college, yeah, to get a different change, whatever. But I guess I gave myself a period of time to convince myself before I drop out.
Fair.
Um, so I went into college and I was like, so throughout college, I'm thinking about, okay, can I do this? Doing shoots here and there, kind of feeling the waters. Like, am I capable? I know I'm capable of it, but it was just figuring out, am I ready right now? That was really my question. So then I'm working at Media Lab. Um, just a background for my age too. I've never worked a 9 to 5, never,
Ever.
ever.
For you.
Um, I just been blessed. Not, I guess the reason being high school, I just did mad sports,
Mm.
so I was just focused on that in school. Um, I always did little stuff here and there, lawns, cleaning, like just making side money.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my way of finessing stuff. But I never worked an official like 9 to 5. Um, and then I went into school, and that's when I worked. I did a work study, so I was doing that, and then I rent out cameras and stuff, and then I'm in there, and you get these seniors that are studying film and stuff. I see them renting out these cameras. I'm like, bro, these kids don't know nothing. They don't, and y'all about to graduate in 2 months. So time progresses, whatever, and then I'm just, I'm working in the media lab. So I rent out these people cameras. I help them sign out. Oh, okay, cool, boom. Give them the camera. You're signing this out. All right, cool. You're returning it. That's my job. And then just over time, I find myself teaching them how to work these cameras. Like what blew my mind was they didn't know the basics.
Mm.
Like just like 24 frames per second, double the shutter speed, like that. Like just the fundamental of
Mm-hmm.
like filmmaking. And at that moment, I was like, this is a joke. And that's when I was like, bro, like that's when my whole perspective on like I always knew school was kind of a joke. Okay, I'm not gonna say that I'm just bashing schools,
Yeah,
but it
man, chill
was.
out, bro. Chill out. For you,
I think schools and
for what you wanted to do through school, it didn't make sense.
I think I think you have to understand the type of person you are, right?
Okay.
I think that's the main thing with school and all that. Because like for me, at my perspective, even so, I went into school for entrepreneurship, just a
Mm.
business administration. So studying this, studying that, and I'm sitting in these classes like this professor's telling me how to run a multi-million-dollar business. I'm like, bro, you don't run a multi-million-dollar business. What are you talking about?
That's funny. That is
And
a fact. But that's funny.
it just didn't equate to me because it's like at the end of the day, these professors, at least in my experience, were just spitting out the information that their professors told them.
Mm.
And not that that's a bad thing or anything, but it's just like you just read through it and you're just like, uh, it just didn't add up.
Mm.
I didn't see the numbers adding up. So that was my experience with school, and then working in the media lab, and then seeing everything with that, like the seniors that are about to graduate that even know the fundamentals. I was like, all right, I think I could do this.
Hmm.
So, bro, I remember that last statistics test I had to take. I walked into that final. I remember I was studying, whatever. I was taking the test. Right, like after like 3 questions, I was like, I'm gonna drop out. I just sat there for like 10 minutes. I was like, this don't even matter. I just passed the test and just walked
Oh
out.
my god.
Bro, such a burden off, bro. I've never felt more free in my life. When like I said, I hadn't officially dropped out or anything like that, but I already know myself when I make a decision, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So I turned that test and I told myself I'm dropping out. And I walked out that door, bro. Most liberating feeling inside my entire life, bro. That was just like, oh man, I never have to take a test ever again. I never have to do homework ever again. Like that was, oh man, writing the papers, trash, so trash. So fast forward to fall 2018, I moved back home, and I'm just doing it full time, doing it with gigs, people in my area, just finessing, just making it work, getting a camera, slowly upgrading, getting my first gimbal. This is 2018. Then I move out with my brother. It's funny because, you know, I went into it, my first experience with it, doing it full time, is freelancing, which is pretty crazy because, you know, usually the first time, people intern, people find somewhere to work under, et cetera, et cetera. I didn't have any of those opportunities, and that's just the area I grew up in. Um, so my only option was to freelance if I wanted to do it, even if I wanted to find some job or something. It was rather just work a regular job. And my mind is like, okay, I'm just going at 1,000%, see if this works. So then at that point, me and my brother move out, find a place together. And what's funny is, my brother has like a consistent job, like more consistent than me at like the time. I'm like, yo, will I be able to pay rent? I'm just like, yo, what's happening? I just dropped out of college. I'm trying to figure this out. And, this, I guess the smartest thing logically would be like, okay, get a job and then make this your side hustle. I
Mm-hmm.
went in at 1,000%. I was like, bump that. I'm just doing it full time. And then I'm out here struggling. So like I'm struggling. I'm like, I'm really, really, really worried about like paying rent and stuff. And then what's funny is like that's the thing with like stress or whatever at the moment. That's one of my biggest lessons I learned was just stressing about things that are not in the moment, like just long term things.
That's good.
And because I remember at the time, bro, I'd be stressing about rent. I'm like, bro, that's next month. That's next month, which is valid, You got to think about it,
That's
100%.
still next month though.
Yeah, 100%. But it's like, bro,
But what's the
I
point?
was at the point, bro. I like the point is at that point, I remember months where I had to cover my brother,
Mm.
and I was like, I never had to struggle with that, and I was like, damn, and I was like, that's where God really looked down. I'm just like, yo, if you just grind and just stop stressing about it, stop stressing about it, just keep working, and then fast forward to 2019 was when so for those looking, especially at a young age, like 18, looking to create something, you gotta anytime I go into anything, you gotta see what's on the table.
Mm.
What are you working with? I'm 18, I have no experience, people don't know who I am, I have no connections, etc. So you're not going to get away with working with a client by telling them you work for X amount of years, blah blah. That's not your way in. There's no way you're going to get in like that.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward to 2019 was when I got hooked up with a friend that I met on social media. Um, all my connections have been through Instagram. Why I'm here right now is because of Instagram. Shouts to Instagram. Literally, Instagram DMs. So at that time, I knew I wasn't going to get in because I had zero experience,
Mm-hmm.
just on paper. I knew I could do the video stuff, but I just didn't have any experience. So my main focus was like, let me just create the stuff I would create. And I just started making personal content. And that's how I got connected with everyone. I started dropping the hyperlapses. That's when I just came up with the hyperlapses.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really focused on just making personal stuff. Started doing the hyperlapses. Artists started to see. That's when I started getting connected with Montel, became homies,
Mm-hmm.
and that's like just doing personal content.
Yeah.
I was able to show my work, and people just respected it. And then from there, I was able to connect with artists who really like, "Ooh, I want that." And then from there, ooh, okay, cool. I'm working with Montel now. I got some portfolio work to show now, and just building it from there. So from anyone like at that age or anyone starting off, if you have nothing and you want to start full time, just start making your own stuff. Like you don't need to wait for an artist or find an intern
And you
or
shouldn't.
internship.
You shouldn't
Yeah, and
wait
you
for an
shouldn't.
opportunity to figure out what your own voice or what your own like creative spin on whatever you want to be creating is. Because
Yeah,
that's
you
backwards.
just
That's working backwards.
yeah,
And you lose yourself in the
literally.
sauce. by doing it.
literally. You just find your own stuff to create, and then now, then fast forward to 2019. So throughout this period of making my own personal stuff, I'm getting connected with a ton of people just on Instagram. They're just seeing my work and they just like it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm making like Instagram friends, and then a couple connections here and there. Shooting with my brother. My brother dances, so that's how I really got into filmmaking. He always needed someone to shoot for him, so I just shot for him. Kind of, it's funny because my first music video was with The Open Road with Paul Russell, right? But it's funny because I saw all these dance videos with my brother, and it's like it's kind of the same structure. Like there's not much difference with dance videos versus music videos, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the same structure. So I was low key practicing for music videos without even knowing it. So then I fast forward, I'm making all these Instagram friends, et cetera, et cetera. And then boom, 2019 hits, and one of my Instagram homies is like, "Yo, there's a job opportunity to work on retainer for a company with that manages a few gospel artists." So I was like, "All right, bet." Literally, hit me up. Um, he was like, "Yo, you able to fly down?" 2 days. All right, boom, leave. That whole month and a half, went on tour, and then from there, I was just ended up working there for a year, just on retainer, just traveling, going back and forth. So yeah, I think the biggest takeaway that I learned was you don't know who's watching you.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're making your personal work, like at that moment, I didn't really understand social media like that, like the way I do now. So I don't know who's watching me, but I'm just putting my best foot forward. You know, I think my mentality, even when I had like, I mean, I don't have a lot of followers now, but my mentality is always to treat my work as if I have 200 million followers. Like I treat my work the same way I would if I had a multi-million, like the best of my ability. You know what I'm saying? Which is
Okay.
why I'm out here in Cali with my full Camlink setup and trying to, make this presentable. And yeah, so I'm making all these hyperlapses and stuff, and then I'm connecting with these artists that I didn't think that I would be able to connect with. And
Mm-hmm.
then I'm connecting with them, and they're like, "Yeah, bro, I've been seeing your stuff since like back then." I'm like, "What?"
That's wild.
Like they've been scheming since the low, but you just don't know. And it's like you never know who's watching you. You never know who's watching you.
And that's why it's important to get your stuff out. You know, I'm preaching to myself first and foremost, bro.
Hey
This
man,
was
I'm
not a
preaching to
dish at all.
myself.
Um, yeah, man. Because that's a really good point. I mean, you hear it, but once you start getting discovered by it, even discovered by older stuff, be like, oh man, I remember when you did this, and this. Like, I really like this. You're just, man, it really takes you back on the fact of like you have to appreciate. You have to literally learn to appreciate like the factor of what could come from something you did a while back if you
Yeah,
just keep doing it. Like those hyperlapses, like you said, that's a really good,
bro. It just
really
started off with just like a cool little, like literally, bro. Hyperlapses were popping. Like it was. I didn't invent that, but it was like I never seen one of like a person. Like at that time, it was just like in travel videos, like it's just like buildings, stuff like that, like
mm-hmm.
Sam Colder stuff. And at that time there was none of people. I'm like, it's I'm like, can I do this with a person? Like it should be the same thing,
Yeah.
kind of. And I was like, all right, let me just do it. And then from there it just became a thing. And then dog, like for anyone watching, maximize what you have. Honestly, limitations are the best thing. Limitations are the best thing you have because from there you're able to see what you what was just not possible. That way you could just hone in on what exactly, like if you have free range to do whatever, um, go work at this internship. You have 3 job opportunities over here. You Someone wants to hire you to do wedding filmmaking. Someone wants you to do this, blah, blah. So many opportunities on the table. It's really hard to just balance them and really trying to figure out. But when you literally don't have a choice because those aren't even an option and your only choice is to make personal content, just hone in on that. And honestly, I think that's the best way to go because it's like that's the only time or the only like you can put all your energy into that because you don't have any other option.
Hmm.
And when you put all your energy into something, like you go 1,000% into something, you're gonna see fruit eventually. So
And I think that's part of it too, is how long you're willing to put 100% in. You know, because a lot of
yeah.
people don't get to see that fruit because they try something for a week or a couple days. And like,
Oh man.
you feel me? You don't like. I mean, that kind of goes back to allowing yourself to develop, like allowing yourself that time to grow through. There are so many times I'm editing something and just be like, I hate this. I don't like how
Oh,
it's coming out. This, and
100%.
this. But then you present it and they highlight some things that you didn't see in a good way. It's so easy to focus on all the negatives when you're creating something. It's so easy to focus on, like, you might see something in a photo that just haunts you forever,
Yeah.
right? But nobody else might see that ever, you know, and be like, yo, this is fire.
It's like you make an old piece of content that you made a while back and you're like, wow, that's really trash. But it did its purpose for that time. It launched you to the next video, to the next video, to then what led you to now. So there's no reason in even comparing it to like your best work or someone else's work because at that moment it's doing its purpose. You can't you can't really judge that video nothing else than it's like a launching point. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's its purpose. It's fitting its purpose. That the first podcast or the second podcast we did talking about our first music videos, well, that was the Canon EOS M, and I was in the middle of shooting that, editing that, everything. I was like, this is trash, or like because I knew the look I was trying to go for. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? That cinematic, and I was like, I'm not achieving it. I'm not achieving it, but I still put out the video, and through shooting with that camera, I was like, there's something missing or something. So I eventually upgraded or just eventually just learn color grading, and I was just like, wow, I finally have that thing I was trying to get after.
Mm-hmm.
Like my video finally looks like the way I was watching the other videos, and I was like, how do they make it look like that? And it was just like, so yeah, it doesn't really matter like where you're at, I think, because whatever you're gonna do at that moment is gonna fulfill its purpose,
Mm-hmm.
and just move on to the next.
Yeah,
Take
man.
that out, move on to the next.
And quit comparing to where somebody else might be who might be the same age as you.
Yeah, age. That's what we're
I
talking
think
about.
well, I mean, it all kind of ties back to that, you know, because like there's a lot of times where I could even I was like, honestly, it was like a mix of being in awe and in shock when artists would pop off or somebody would pop off and I'd be like, man, they're only this and this, or man, they're my age.
Yeah,
It kind of buries what you've already accomplished, and things you should be highlighting because you're comparing to somebody else's success and you don't know how long they've been doing that. Nothing. People that pop off overnight took 10 years to get that overnight opportunity to make, like, or took a long time
yep,
to pop off overnight. It's nothing is ever overnight. There is no secret formula. You could go viral overnight and not have been doing it mad long, but it don't mean that you got a solid group or a solid voice that you believe in, or that you stand behind when
yeah.
you're kind of when you're
And
developing like those pillars of like what you want people to feel or people to see or people to understand um
yeah,
when they're
and
watching. And
and vice versa. Because I know, like for me, um, I see a lot of young cats. I'm saying young cats like I'm young, but
Yeah,
like a
relax,
lot of
bro.
younger cats. And they see someone at 30 doing that, and it's almost like that lack of pressure. Like they feel like, oh, I'm young. That's it's not my time to even start thinking about that. I'm just
Oh
like,
man.
nah. It's like I remember before I got my Sony A6500, right?
Mhm.
I had the Canon EOS M. I was mowing lawns. I was raking leaves, making a little side bread. Me and my brother split for the Canon EOS M. We bought it off eBay. Shouts to eBay. With a little Ecan steady can thing, little green little grip. Oh man. But we bought that, and I knew it wasn't achieving that look. And at that moment, I knew I had to upgrade. And then I did some research, months of research, and I was like, okay, my next camera is a Sony A6500, and I couldn't upgrade till like I would say like 6 months. I was just broke, right?
Mhm.
Couldn't upgrade to the camera, but that didn't stop me because I was like, okay, I know I'm gonna upgrade to this camera, bro. I did all the research on that camera. When that camera came in the mail and box, I fully knew how to use it.
That's
And
fire.
the only camera I only ever touched in my life was the Canon EOS M. And I did so much research to the point like I brought that camera out of the box. I knew exactly how to use it. It was just a matter of getting familiar and getting comfortable with it. But I knew exactly how it worked, how it operated, what are the best settings. And I see a lot of younger people and they're like, um, it's the same thing, like you see someone young popping off. I think what makes age difference a huge thing is the, I guess, resources or just being an adult. You got adult money. You could buy a camera. At 17, 18, it's very
Mhm.
hard to just buy equipment or just buy enough money to even start a business. So, but in my example, that didn't stop me. I know I didn't have the money to camera, but I knew 6 months to a year I'll have it. And just to all the research, like I have the camera. And then once you get the camera, it saves you that time. Because if you bought that camera at that moment, I could have just spent all that time learning. I still would have been shooting around the same time either way. So
Mhm.
study that camera, even though I haven't had it.
Yeah.
Literally, bro, every single night, every single morning, bro, just reading the manuals, dog. Like, what are the settings? What are the codecs? Like, what are the best settings? Bro, it was like I knew this camera in and out. I didn't even own it, dog.
Mhm.
But I knew I was gonna get it. And I think that's what quote unquote expedited a lot of my um experience. And it didn't really expedite it, but I just crunched in all that quote unquote 5 years of time into 40-hour days. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So it's really quality of time um that people should go after. You know what I'm saying? You could do the same thing or same practices yeah, you'll get better, but you know, like you do CrossFit for 30 minutes and you'll be tired rather than working out for 5 hours and you're on your phone for 3 hours of the workout. So quality of time.
Mhm.
You expedite things. And yeah, I think that's what I would like if someone asked me how I got to where I am, that is how I got to where I am. I quality of time. That was always my mentality, and I made sure I was listening to the right people. Um, I'm the type of person through my experiences. Sounds kind of sad, but I never really had like mentors or anything.
Mhm.
So I never really, and especially growing up in a single parent household, I never really looked up to anyone. So at the same time, like I respect people, but at the same time, I never really like anyone told me anything, I would be more skeptical first
Mhm.
before anything else. And I think that gave me a little bit of a like low key an advantage because um like even doing like I think the hardest thing with learning on YouTube when you're not in school or learning through just YouTube, learning through my videos, you have to filter through a ton of bad content. I only watch the YouTubers that I like their personal work from. If I didn't like their
That's
personal
solid.
work,
That's a great way to navigate, to be honest with
I'm not taking any advice from you. I don't care how much you know about this camera. your work is trash. Why would I like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
why would I want to learn from someone that I don't see myself doing what they're doing?
Mm.
It's just a person that knows stuff rather than that's why I listen to Jacob Owen so much. And I was like, dude, his videos are sick. That's like what I want to do. And then he's out here teaching people. I'm like, I need to listen to this guy. So for anyone like trying to learn through YouTube or whatever, first thing I do before anything else, I find a new YouTuber. And there are exceptions. There are just like camera reviews and stuff like that. That's just information. But if you're learning for someone like how to shoot or like really stylistic choices or like advice on like how to operate cameras and stuff like that, watch their personal work. There is Watch their personal work, watch the projects they worked on. If you like those and you see yourself wanting to do projects like that, listen to them.
Mm.
Um, if you're trying to learn how to shoot a documentary series and you're just listening to YouTubers that shoot YouTube videos, you're not going to get great advice on how to shoot a documentary. Watch a documentary filmmaker, try to find a
Facts.
person, read a book. So yeah, so it's doing the right research because doing research is not enough. It's just information, but you got to listen to the right people. And yeah, that pretty much. I think that's that, and yeah, just
Yeah,
research,
and
and
I
listen
think
to the
doing
right
the
people.
research in all the time spent not waiting, but working towards those opportunities, working towards um creating your own content, like putting that time in at whatever your age you're starting at. It don't matter what age you're starting at. That's only gonna help fill the void and gaps when you do get an opportunity and you're in a position and you're in a
Yeah,
situation to where you're actually gonna have an idea of what you should be doing.
correct.
And
So that way, when that opportunity pops up, I'm always ready for the next opportunity.
mm,
Um, because I've seen people. I've been when I was first starting, like an opportunity popped up, and I'll be like, "Am I ready?" And that scared me, and that transition that helped me to understand. Okay, I'm gonna just be ready. Like the opportunity's already there.
yeah,
So that way, when the opportunity pops up, I'm like, bro, I've been training for this in the dark. You know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm.
Um, so that's why, like, it's just research, man. Like,
Yeah,
just pretend you're doing it. Literally, just you're acting. Just act for a few years.
yeah,
Just method act. Method act being a filmmaker and just pretend you're Christopher Nolan for like 8 months. I don't know what
man.
that's like, but just pretend and you'll eventually I think if you're just sitting around and you could be the hardest worker, you could be grinding 24/7, shooting wedding films. Um, if your goal is not to shoot wedding films for like your career, but you could be doing a ton of client work. But if you're never preparing for the opportunity that you want to get, when the opportunity arrives, you're not going to be ready for it, and you're going to miss it because you didn't prepare yourself for the opportunity. And that's a sad truth because I missed some dope opportunities because I wasn't ready,
Mm.
and that put me in, and I was it it it, it
It
grinded
hits
my
hard.
gears. So
It hits hard for
it hits
sure.
hard. It hits hard. So now I'm at the point where it's like I know what I'm trying to do next, and I'm already ready right now, and I know the opportunity is not gonna pop in until like 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Just realistically, if it comes sooner, awesome. But I'm ready right now for those opportunities, and it's just like I might have not actually had the experience of being on those opportunities, but I've done research. I'm trying to learn the language. I'm trying to learn the way these things operate,
Yeah,
so that when the opportunity pops up, I'm at least familiar, and that at least takes off the edge off of me and gives me room to just learn more
mm.
rather than not training yourself now, getting the opportunity, jumping in, then you're overwhelmed, you're stressed, you're dealing with your own emotional stuff on top of just learning rather than just learning.
That's facts.
Yeah.
That's good, man. Well,
Look at us.
I think that's it, man. I'm also getting tired of debating, but
Yeah, I'm tired.
No, that was solid. Honestly, I think age and getting more caught up on age and lack of opportunities by that age and comparing can all overshadow what you could be doing during that time
Yep.
to work towards whatever you want to be working towards, or creating your own version of whatever you want to be working towards. You want to shoot a commercial for Nike, make your own commercial for Nike.
Yep.
There are plenty of people that do that online that you could get inspiration from on YouTube all over the place. This isn't a concept that I've thought of. This is everywhere. Literally recreate a rendition of what you want to be doing.
Literally, all these big things, especially in the filmmaking world, that I look up to. I'm like, yo, how the heck did they shoot that? Now I'm at a point where I kind of have an understanding on how these things work, and I'm
Mhm.
just like, it's honestly not that crazy. They just have an insane budget and bigger toys.
And they're still trying
But
stuff.
exactly, and essentially, it's like they're really just finessing. I
They're really just
swear to
finessing.
God, they're just finessing, and it's just like I think at that point, it's just their confidence in
Yeah,
themselves and in their team, and then once you have that dialed in, the rest just follows.
no doubt.
It's actually crazy because people see like the gap isn't that big from
No.
being an independent filmmaker to that. It's really the gap is big because of all the things out of your control. There's just things that are just out of your control.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of like practical stuff and all that, like conceptually, it's not that different. It's not that different. So don't treat it like it's different. Just treat it like you're just making stuff and just prepare yourself.
And have fun. Have fun
Have
doing it,
fun.
man.
No, be miserable.
There's enough frustrating moments in this for you just to be frustrated all the time. Trying to
Yeah.
create stuff or figuring out what to do. You gotta have
Just
fun
have
doing it,
fun.
otherwise you're gonna be miserable all the time. That's too.
Yeah. The biggest thing before anything else, have a good attitude. If you're not a fun person to work around with, you're just
Not
not
gonna
going to
work.
succeed. You're not going to succeed, and people won't like you. This is like.
Well, guys, thank you for coming to another episode of, if you're still sticking around, if you've stuck around this far, thank you for being here for another episode of Something Creative. Let us know what you think in the comments. Let us know if you've ever had any experience where you've overthought anything because of your age, or if you've compared because of your age.
Let us
drop
know
it in
how
the
old
comments.
you guys are.
Let us
Yeah.
know how old
How do you guys
are.
let us know how old you guys are and where you're trying to be. What are your aspirations?
What do you want to create? What things do you want to
And
start creating?
and do you feel like your age is affecting that goal you're trying to achieve?
Drop it in the comments. Lugo, let them know where to find you.
Where's Lugo everywhere?
Perfect. All right, guys. Until the next episode, next Saturdays is when we do this. Until then, peace.
Peace.